Proverbs Chapter 1 serves as the introduction to the entire book of Proverbs, laying the groundwork for the wisdom, instruction, and moral guidance that follows. This chapter emphasizes the foundational principles of wisdom and invites us to reflect on the importance of living a life directed by understanding, discipline, and reverence for God. The message of Proverbs 1 can be broken down into several key themes that provide deep insight into the pursuit of wisdom and the consequences of ignoring it. The purpose of Proverbs Chapter 1 verse 1-6 introduces the overall purpose of the book: to offer wisdom, instruction, and guidance for living a righteous and successful life. It aims to help us develop discernment, insight, and a deeper understanding of how to navigate the complexities of life. The opening verses tell us that this wisdom is not just for the uneducated or naive, but for the wise as well, so they can increase their learning and understanding. This section invites us to see wisdom as something that is always growing and evolving. No matter how much we know or how experienced we are never beyond the need for wisdom. Life is full of challenges, decisions, and moral choices that require ongoing reflection and growth. Proverbs teaches that the wise are those who never stop learning, never stop seeking understanding, and never grow complacent in their pursuit of what is right and good. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Proverbs Chapter 1 verse 7 is one of the most well-known verses in the Bible, and it encapsulates the central message of the book. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. This verse highlights that true wisdom begins with a deep reverence for God. In biblical terms, fear does not mean terror but a profound respect, awe, and submission to God's authority and will. This fear acknowledges that God is the source of all truth and knowledge, and without recognizing His rightful place in our lives, we cannot truly be wise. This principle is fundamental because it reminds us that wisdom is not merely intellectual or philosophical, it is deeply spiritual. It is about aligning our hearts and minds with God's truth. Those who despise wisdom and instruction are labeled as fools not because they are unintelligent, but because they choose to live independently of God's guidance, rejecting the humility that is necessary for true understanding. The importance of listening to wise counsel. In Proverbs Chapter 1 verse 8-9, we are reminded of the importance of heeding the instruction of our parents and elders. Listen, my son, to your father's instruction and do not forsake your mother's teaching. They are a garland to grace your head and a chain to adorn your neck. This is a call to respect and honor the wisdom that comes from those who have walked the path before us. Parents, teachers, and elders possess a lifetime of experience, and their wisdom is valuable for our growth and success. Listening to wise counsel isn't always easy, especially when it requires us to admit that we don't have all the answers. But Proverbs encourages us to be humble, open to correction, and willing to learn from others. This attitude of teachability is a hallmark of wisdom. The imagery of a garland and a chain symbolizes that wisdom, when embraced, brings honor and grace to our lives. It is something beautiful and enriching, not a burden. The danger of enticing sin. Proverbs Chapter 1 verse 10-19 shifts to a warning against falling into the trap of sinful behaviors, particularly those encouraged by bad influences. My son, if sinful men entice you, do not give in to them. The passage goes on to describe a scenario where sinners band together to commit violence and theft, promising quick rewards and wealth. This warning is timeless. In every generation, people are faced with temptations to take shortcuts, to ignore ethical boundaries, and to pursue selfish gain at the expense of others. The allure of immediate gratification often blinds us to the long-term consequences of such actions. Proverbs teaches that these choices ultimately lead to destruction. These men lie in wait for their own blood, they ambush only themselves. v.18. The message here is that sinful behavior is not only morally wrong but self-destructive. When we choose the path of evil, we set a trap for ourselves, leading to inevitable ruin. Proverbs reminds us to be vigilant, resisting the influence of those who would lead us astray, and instead pursuing what is right, even when it's difficult. Wisdom's call, in Proverbs Chapter 1 verse 20-33, wisdom is personified as a woman standing in the public square, crying out to everyone who will listen. Out in the open, wisdom calls aloud. She raises her voice in the public square. v.20. Wisdom isn't hidden or elusive, it's available to all. But many people choose to ignore it, mocking it or turning a deaf ear to its call. How long will you who are simple love your simple ways? How long will mockers delight in mockery and fools hate knowledge? v.22. This section emphasizes the accessibility of wisdom. It's not restricted to the intellectual elite, it's available to anyone who seeks it. But it also highlights a critical truth. Wisdom must be sought out and embraced. It won't force itself on us. Those who persist in foolishness and reject wisdom will face consequences. The passage ends with a sobering warning. Since they would not accept my advice and spurned my rebuke, they will eat the fruit of their ways and be filled with the fruit of their schemes. v.3031. The consequences of rejecting wisdom are not immediate but inevitable. Those who refuse to listen to wise counsel will eventually experience the results of their choices, often in the form of disaster or suffering. On the other hand, those who listen to wisdom will live in safety and be at ease, without fear of harm. Verses 33. The choice before us, Proverbs Chapter 1 leaves us with a stark choice. Will we pursue wisdom, or will we follow the path of foolishness? The consequences of each path are laid out clearly. Those who fear the Lord, seek instruction, and embrace wise counsel will find peace, security, and success. But those who ignore wisdom, give in to temptation, and reject God's guidance will face destruction. The invitation to follow wisdom is extended to all, but it requires humility, teachability, and a willingness to change. Wisdom is more than intellectual knowledge, it's a way of life, rooted in the fear of the Lord and characterized by righteousness, justice, and understanding. Proverbs Chapter 1 challenges us to make this pursuit of wisdom the foundation of our lives. In conclusion, Proverbs Chapter 1 is not just a collection of moral sayings, it's a call to live a life that is aligned with God's truth. It invites us to walk in wisdom, to listen to wise counsel, and to resist the allure of foolishness and sin. The chapter promises that those who choose the path of wisdom will experience safety, peace, and fulfillment, while those who reject it will ultimately face destruction. The choice is ours, and Proverbs urges us to choose wisdom, for it is the key to a life well lived.